Hi! Today we're going to do some talking about split cakes. When you have face paint, it comes in a container that we call a cake. And this, what we're looking at here, this is a neon green because I want something bright, but I want to make sure that it picks up well. So I'm going to spray. Now, the cakes of paint, when you're dealing with neon green, neons tend to not go on as thick as other paints. So you want to take it and you want to test it and see if it goes on just the way you want it. I'm liking that. So I want to show you a little bit about split cakes. Now, if you're familiar from art in the 90s, you will know a technique of painting called tool painting. Tool painting is where you get a light color, like this green, and you get a dark color. And then you got a clear mixing medium. And after you squirt your two greens together and put the mixing medium in the middle, you got your wide brush and you brushed back and forth through the medium with the edges of the two colors of green. And the more you do back and forth, your paintbrush will get really goopy. And then you'd got a tissue and you would wipe some of the goop off. So your brush had nice crisp lines and you had a beautiful gradient from dark to light. Face painters saw this technique and went, hey, that is a great idea. So they started putting two colors together. This is from Paradise Mayron. This is a rainbow cake, going from red through the different shades to finally a dark indigo. This is a miniature rainbow cake by Fusion. This goes from blue to teal to white. This is perfect for doing dolphins, sharks, sea creatures, or if you're doing a face paint crown for a Frozen, it's good for winter. And I'll show you how these work in a different video, but right now I want to show you about split cakes. Now, as you use up split cakes, you'll find that the bottom end or the top end are left while your brush picks up all the middle colors. And that can be frustrating. So artists started buying up the solid color paints, slicing off a sliver of the matching color, and they would wedge it to renew the center of their split cake. And then other artists started saying, hey, if we can buy it, if we can fill it, we can make it. Now, I'm always losing my green split cake, the one that I use for frogs and snakes. And when you're making a lot of boy designs, a lot of boys want frogs, snakes, and turtles. So I go through a lot of green, or if they want to be green monsters or green ogres. So what I'm going to do is the pigment is the face paint. The clear mixing medium is water. And I'm going to show you how I make a split cake from scratch. So we're going to travel down to my work table. Now we're going to flip around to my view. I'm going to get a little bit of air here. Okay. You start with a clear container. Most face paint split cakes that you buy, they're usually 1 inch wide, and this is 1 1/4 wide. It's more of a triangle, or they're very large. This large one is usually for full face application, and the small one is for paintbrush application. I'm going to reach over and grab one of my flat brushes and show you This is my 3/4 inch brush, so it doesn't reach all the way across. These are made for 1-inch brushes. So I can, if I put pressure down, you can see that the brush will spread out a little bit more across. And it's very important to go back and forth exactly in the same spot. If you don't, if you waver a little bit left to the right, these colors will blend too much and you'll lose that white edge, or you'll totally lose that middle color. But I don't like to always paint with a big wide brush because I'm painting children. So I like to use a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch at the most. So I went to the Container Store and they have these Acme boxes. They come in different colors. I like clear, but I decided to switch it up and I bought some different colored plastic containers. They're very hard, so you don't want to drop these. These could shatter when they hit the floor. Most face paint containers are soft plastic. When I use up the split cakes, I save the container and I reuse my containers. I'm slowly switching to the Acme containers because I can fit more, because they're more narrow, I can fit more in my face paint kit. And as you see, it's just wide enough for my 3/4 brush to get in. And this 3/4 brush will be able to go in and slide back and forth perfectly with no wiggle room. So I have to be spot on when loading my brush. In loading up, you want the darkest on one side and the lightest on the other. So in this case, I'm going to start with my darkest. I'm using a chameleon. Now, face paint does have different properties. I'm honest, I am not an expert in which is what, which is paraffin and which is glycerin. I do remember one likes to bleed more across when it gets wet. So you want to not choose colors that bleed. You might want to alternate a color that bleeds next to a color that stays crisp. I am going to make a full cake. When face paint is new, you can just take a razor, an X-Acto blade, and carve out the piece of paint you want to insert. If it's older paint, it's a lot tougher. And it mushes just like clay. So I'm trying to get it the tallness of the container, but also thin. I'm going to be putting a total of 4 colors into this split cake: a dark green, a green, white, and yellow. By putting a little bit of white between the green and the yellow, it helps the yellow from becoming green because there will be overbleed. I'm pushing it into my container. Now I might go in later and maybe just put a little thin layer of black just because I want to get a nice dark edge, but we'll see how this goes. If I mess up, that's okay. I have plenty of paint to practice with. So don't be afraid that you're going to use up all your face paint with practice, because you can always use the unwanted colors. Now that I have the green, I'm going to put this neon green in just to see if it works out. And remember, if it doesn't work out, we got more practice colors to use. Now this green should be my main color for this split cake. I'm having to go across. The older the paint, it gets more stiff and hard and not as easy to work with. You'll find neons. Neons don't like to be soft. Neons go hard pretty quick. I can see that's just a little too long, so I'm going to shave some off. Compare it. Wedge it down. You want to try to get it even straight across. If a darker color sticks out a little bit, then it's going to tell. That area will either blend lighter or blend darker. I'm thinking that's good. This is not a regular green, it's a neon green. I could put yellow and then white, or I could do white and then yellow. That's something I'm going to have to decide here on my split cake. If I do white, that makes my yellow. This will blend to a lighter green, and this will blend to a lighter yellow. So I'm just asking myself, do I want to do that, or do I want to go extreme light to dark? I think I'm going to do white. So I'm going to use this, I'm going to use the lid as my cutting mat. I want to cut this a little more narrow because right now it's too wide for what I want in that split cake. As you see, making your own split cake is trial and error. You might not want to have the time for trial and error. So in that case, it's of great benefit to just go ahead and buy your split cake already perfectly made. But if you're crazy like me, you love the challenge of doing it yourself. I'm going to use the tip to push it in. Oh, that's right. This side of the green is a little crooked, so I'm going to have to build up a little more white. Once you start using this split cake, the water will go ahead and kind of cement these layers together. I hope that neon green works out great. Also, you might want to take special note of what colors and what brands you used, in what order. That way you can recreate it, or you've learned from your mistakes and you know what to avoid. Now, here I'm taking my X-Acto blade and I'm putting it and I'm pushing the white paint against the green. Just trying to get out what air bubbles I can. And now, finally, the yellow. This is a neon yellow. I did not intend for that to happen. But this is going to be interesting. Remember how I said neons tend to be really thick? I got neon paint because I wanted my designs to look crisp and fresh. And so I started doing Pikachu faces using the yellow, and everyone would exclaim, "Oh my goodness, that's so bright." Not, "Oh wow, that's a neat design." I got lots of exclamation. Well, anyways, the way people reacted, I decided to stop using neons for when I made my Pikachus. Okay, I've cut it to size. Now I'm going to wedge it in. You can see through there, I'm going to push it down. It's okay if it does not touch bottom. You want to try to get the top to be the same level. If the dark paint is higher than the light paint, gravity will start working, and the water, as it goes across, will want to fall down here, and soon that yellow is going to be a green. So I'm going to push down. They actually sell special machines, a little wood press that helps press and flatten these paints. So buying your split cake is very much worth it. You get uniformity. It's perfect straight across. Some split cakes I've made this one for Rose. Rose, fire, yellow to red, brown, and this here, this is white. I haven't cleaned off my split cake, but if I scrape away that top layer, you start seeing the white. I just need to clean this cake off so the layers are crisp. So that side is supposed to be white, but overbleed from the darker has turned that white brown. And then here's my own blue cake. Again, this is white, but it's turned blue. That's because one of these colors or more bleeds more easily when wet, and you get it over. So there is a science to making your own split cakes. Try and error is fun. But if you're having fun, that's all that matters. Your fun and joy in your art will be seen and felt by your clients. Now, if you try mixing a regular paint, a non-neon paint, with the neon, that color, when compared to the neon, will look dirty and ugly, and you might not want to mix neon with non-neon for that fact. But I have had people tell me that they mix their neon yellow with a similar regular yellow, so that way you get the full coverage of the yellow, and when it mixes up, you see the yellow, but the neon yellow, which would have been hard to see, stands out when UV lights. Now I'm using the back end of my X-Acto blade to use as a press. I'm filling in the height of the neon yellow, just getting little crumbles, pushing them into place. And to finish making my own, I'm off camera, sorry. To finish making my neon cake, I do activate a flat brush and I run it over, and the water will help cement all these little flakes into place. Also, to help push down, these little boxes come with lids, and I use the lid to help push down. Right now I'm looking around to see where I put the blue lid. I might have left it in my case of supplies. But here's another lid. It's longer, but I can use it to tap down the corners. So this is fun. That's why I make my own split cakes. The fun, the experiment, the challenge, and the bragging rights to say, yes, I made that from scratch. Okay, I'm going to push down in the other corner. If the lighter side is higher than the dark side, you have a reverse problem. You get the dark color disappearing because the lighter colors bleed through. I see a piece of white that got where I don't want it. When I try to pull it out. Face paint can last a long time. But don't make the mistake. If you go into face painting as a business, you have business costs. You're not just paying for the paint. Also, did you work for another company? Did you have a job? Did you show up and work for free? Usually you have on-the-job training, and you are paid for on-the-job training. So even if you are practicing and learning face paint for the first time, your time is worth it. A plumber, even a beginning plumber, gets paid $22 an hour. And then parts. When I buy face paint cakes, I can't just buy a little bit. I need to buy a whole entire container. Your container of paints, on average, will usually be $10. A split cake like this can be all the way up to $20. So you need to remember that you don't just pay the $20 and you're done. You pay for your materials, you need to buy brushes, you need to pay for gas to get to the job, you need to pay for your time. It takes time preparing these. Remember, you are worth your time to do face painting. It's okay to volunteer and practice to do face paint, but you also need to let people know that your time is valuable and worth it. If you just always do it for free, people will not value you. But even if you charge $5 a face, if you're painting an individual, it's very reasonable to ask $5 to do face paint. That $5 is not even enough to buy a container of face paint. That $5 might buy you one single brush. So this is how I make the split cake. Now I'm going to get that wide brush. Now if you don't have a cup of water to dip in, and I don't like to work with cups of water more than I have to, I lay it on a flat surface, lay the brush on a flat surface, and I spray it with my water bottle. I flip it, spray it with the water bottle, and then I go back and forth on the water droplets to get water in my brush. Once I have a wet brush, but not dripping, I'll put it on one end of my split cake and pull down, lift up, pull down, lift up, pull down, lift up. This is how I load a brush. I push my bristles down and I pull it across. So it's not the tip of the brush that's picking up color, it's the whole length of the brush. Try to go all the way to the end. If you just do the center, you're going to wear a hole in the center of your brush. And you can see how it's blended, the dark with the neon green, with the white, with the yellow. Now I'm going to take my skin and I'm going to drag it down. And that is how I do a split cake. And we'll be showing you some more painting designs with split cakes. So you can buy your own. You can make your own. Make your own. You can run into problems. Buying them, no problems at all. But I think both are fun. I have even taken the paint that comes in here and I sliced off the sides and squeezed it into a more narrow container. So you can move and pot it, but then you take the chance of messing up the perfect alignment of those colors. Have fun with your split cakes. If you don't have any split cakes now, make one or go and buy one, and we're going to have some fun. This is a little split cake I made, fire. It went from orange to red to deep red, and I used the lid. I used a lid from a global split cake because I just wanted to do a little bit. But as you see, the global split cake was a bit too wide for the brushes I like to use. But they are perfect for sponges, and that's what I'm going to teach next. Well, keep practicing those face paint lines while you wait to get your split cakes, and I'll see you at the next tutorial.